I am about to tell you the scariest moment of my life. It still gives me chills to this day. I don't know why I'm even telling you this. Maybe I need to hear someone else say it out loud, so I can believe it wasn't just my imagination. My name is Rachel Blake, and I'm on a plane right now, 35,000 feet above everything, heading home to Oregon. I was supposed to be driving back in my car, taking my time, a solo road trip to clear my head after everything. But I couldn't keep going. I left my car in some lot in Kansas. There's no way I'm driving that route ever again. Something happened to me out there. Something I can't explain. But before I tell you, make sure to like and subscribe. It is not a threat, it is a demand. It started a week ago. I'd been on the road for a couple of days, taking back roads, no plan, just driving. I left Denver and ended up on this quiet, endless stretch of Highway 16, somewhere in the Midwest. The kind of road that feels like it goes nowhere. Flat plains, shadowy woods, and these half-dead little towns that blink past like ghosts. I thought the solitude would be good for me. I thought it would help me forget. That night, I stopped at this motel, barely more than a shack with a cracked parking lot and a flickering neon sign that said, "Back and see why." I don't even know why I picked it. Maybe I was too tired to care. Inside, it smelled like mildew and old cigarettes. I ate some gas station junk I'd picked up earlier, then tried to sleep, but I couldn't shake this feeling. It started as a prickling on the back of my neck, like I was being watched. I kept telling myself I was being ridiculous, but when I looked out the window, there was someone standing by the road. No, not someone. Something. At first, I thought it was just a man. He was too far away to see clearly, standing just at the edge of the motel's light. Not moving, just watching. I shut the blinds and locked the door. Told myself he was probably just some local, bored out of his mind and being weird. But every time I peeked out, he was still there in the exact same spot. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I got the hell out of there. I didn't even stop for coffee. I just wanted to put as much distance as possible between me and that motel. For a while, the open road helped. The morning air was cool, and the sun felt warm on my face. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined the whole thing. But then it started again. By mid-afternoon, I was driving past this dense stretch of woods, and I started hearing something strange. Footsteps. At first, I thought it was just the sound of gravel kicking up from my tires, but the rhythm didn't match. It was too deliberate, too human. I slowed the car, thinking it must have been the wind or maybe an echo off the trees. But the footsteps didn't stop. They stayed with me, matching my speed exactly. I stopped the car completely. The footsteps stopped. For a moment, it was silent. Then, just as I rolled my window down, I heard it again. Closer. I slammed the window shut, my hands shaking, and floored it. I didn't stop until I hit a diner in the next town. I sat there for hours, drinking cup after cup of coffee, staring out the window. But nothing felt right. I should have gone home then, but I didn't. The next day, I was back on the road, exhausted, jittery, but trying to convince myself it was all in my head. That was when my car hit a pothole. Hard. The whole thing jolted, and I pulled over to find the front axle bent and one of the tires flat. I had no choice but to fix it myself. The road was quiet as I worked. Too quiet. Halfway through, I felt it again, that suffocating feeling of being watched. I turned toward the woods, and there it was. At first, it was just a shadow, something dark against the trees. But as my eyes adjusted, I realized it was the same figure from the motel, standing just inside the tree line, watching. I shouted, "What do you want?" It didn't answer. It didn't move. I forced myself to go back to the car. I worked as fast as I could, hands shaking so bad, I dropped the lug wrench twice. Every time I glanced back, the figure was closer, but it wasn't walking. It was just there in a new spot, like the space between us kept folding in on itself. By the time I finished, it was at the edge of the ditch, barely 15 feet away. Its face, God, its face. It was long and pale, with these hollow black pits where the eyes should have been. And then it smiled. It wasn't a human smile. It was too wide, too sharp, like it had too many teeth. I threw the tools in the trunk, jumped in the car, and drove like my life depended on it. As I sped down the road, I made the mistake of glancing in the rearview mirror. The figure was standing in the middle of the road, watching me. And then it spoke. I didn't see its mouth move, but I heard it, clear as day, like it was whispering right into my ear. It said my name, Rachel. I don't remember much after that. I just remember driving until I found an airport. I booked the first flight home, left my car behind, and never looked back. But even now, on this plane, I can't shake the feeling. It's like it's still out there. Or worse, it's here. If you enjoyed this story, like and subscribe.